Visit multilingual.com/subscribe to sign up today.
Hi everyone, welcome to another LocFact. This time we will be talking about card games.
Card games are my jam. I love building decks, learning strategies, and combining unique cards to make the most out of a set of 40 to 60 cards.
Now, being so classic, card games not only inherited a familiar format, but they also inherited certain limitations that are iconic, and that actually made more than one translator cry during those long, cold nights of work.
Character limitation is definitely one of the top challenges in video game localization, and the same can be said about card games.
Now, for example, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links is a great example of a game with very long text boxes. Printed versions might have been way too hard to read for most players, but thankfully, the game's digital version allows players to scroll up and down the text box.
Hearthstone has gone one step ahead of this and has taken advantage of the pop-up features. We see a card with no more than 5 lines of text, although there are exceptions, with terms in bold. In such cases, the interference will show an annexed text box detailing the abilities and rules necessary to understand each card.
But there's a more nightmarish challenge when translating card rules and effects: flavor text. Flavor text is not related to any game mechanics, but instead, it plays a main role in adding color and life to the game's world. It usually contains descriptions, narrations, stories about the card in which it appears, and gives the players an additional element to understand the card other than just seeing the picture.
Flavor text is essential in most card games, but it's not easy to include more text into the limited space of a text box. But worry not, there's always a creative solution to this.
Now, in Hearthstone, game devs have come up with a great solution that surely makes the game experience more immersive. Almost no in-game flavor text, but lots of voiced lines to add liveliness to the game.
Of course, any player can go into their library and check the details of any card, and a flavor pop-up text box will show next to it. But hearing your card speaks, or grunt, or grunt, or hiss, or chirp, depending on the card, just like a World of Warcraft character, will surely get to those players who still remember the nostalgia of previous adventures. Those who actively play the game will surely find everything familiar as they explore the world.
But let's put a stop there and let's save World of Warcraft for another LocFact. For now, that's a wrap. See you on the next LocFact. Bye, guys.
Hi there. Welcome to another episode of Open World. Today here with us, we had Vlad, one of the co-founders of Neon Doctrine. Welcome, Vlad. How are you today?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's great. It's great to be here. It's evening here, so we're in the opposite sides of the world. But yeah, thanks.
Well, we finally managed to arrange our calendars and make this happen. So we're pretty excited to have you here. Thanks for joining us. This is a recurrent question in this videocast, but this is the reason why we brought you here, and we bring all of our guests here. It's because we want to know about our guests' beginnings in the video game industry. So, how did you start working in this field, and would you like to share us more about your story?
I mean, my first job was with EA in Spain, where I was QA manager at the team there. That's when they still had the main headquarters, European headquarters in the Madrid Peninsula. It wasn't in the city; it was outside. I think now they moved to Belgium or somewhere. Anyways, yeah, and I worked there for about almost 2 years. And after that, didn't work in the gaming industry for a while, did some other stuff. And then I ended up in China, where I was doing my master's. And I met one of our co-founders when I was in China. Was one of an evening at a bar where we were playing board games. And it turned out that they were living very close to where my apartment was, and they just got the first generation dev kits for Oculus and Samsung VR. So they were like, "Hey, you want to come by and check out the all this new VR stuff when it came out like 8 years ago or something?" I was like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah, I want to check it out." So I went there and kind of started hanging out, playing, and the company kind of found it. Another indie at that time, but we rebranded to Neon Doctrine about half a year ago. So we all started in China. We've been there for like the company started there about 7 years ago, and about 3 years ago we opened up a new office here in Taiwan. So the majority of our team is now here in Taipei, but we still have our China team in Xiamen in China that handles all the China stuff, the publishing and the PR and all that jazz.
And how many people are behind Neon Doctrine right now?
I need to do the
rough numbers. You don't have to name them all.
17, 16 people.
Wow, that's
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah, we started with 3 of
at
us
a
working
bar.
in our apartment. Yeah. And
That's
now
so
we've
great.
grown.
So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to get into the Asian market, wants to publish their games in the Chinese market, especially for Western indie dev, right?
Oh man,
we don't have so much knowledge about the Asian market, so you do.
When it comes to China, I did a bunch of speeches about this, and the short answer is, as a foreign developer, you really can't do anything.
Yeah.
The long answer is you need a partner.
Right.
So there's 2 ways to go about it. You can either do it on local platforms, but for that you need a local entity, and you need to give away your copyright ownership and IP ownership to that entity in China to help you get all the licensing and go through the government censorship. But because you're a foreign developer, 99% of the chance you will not be granted that license because they're super strict. There's a huge back catalog, and they're prioritizing local Chinese developers to get the license. And all the games that get through are, happy-go-lucky, very non-political, non-religious, no blood, no gore, nothing like that can get through. The other way you can go is just, do the proper localization of your game so it has good simplified Chinese, and then you do all the PR and marketing and the social media and outreach. But again, if you have no connections, you need to either work with a PR firm in China, or you sign with a Chinese publisher or a publisher that can publish in China. Because all the social platforms are different because everything from the West is banned, so China has their own kind of internet bubble. And plus, there's cultural differences. How you approach press and media, how you approach influencers. So a lot of that thing is it's not the same as the way you do PR in the West. So you need to find somebody who knows their stuff.
You guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we started. And if nobody speaks English, so if you don't speak Chinese, you're kind of screwed as well. So you need boots on the ground when it comes to China. It's actually the same if you want to publish your game in Korea, Japan, and Southeast Asia. It's a little bit easier, but because it's so fragmented, again, you need to find somebody who knows the market very well. I can target all these separate countries because getting a PR firm for every different Southeast Asian country is very expensive. So for indie developers, it just doesn't make sense. You're better off with just a single entity handling this for you.
And overwhelming as well, right?
Yeah.
Especially if
so
you
much.
don't handle the language, if you don't speak Chinese or any other languages for that matter from the Asian market, it can be quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
Well, the answer wasn't that long in the end. Get yourself a knowledgeable partner so they can do it for you.
Yeah, that's the short version. Like the long version is explaining why you should do it and why can't you get the local license. Because you need to have a Chinese company, and you can't found a Chinese company as a foreigner because the Chinese company in China can only be owned by Chinese people. So there's just literally nothing you can do. Yeah.
Yeah, we recommend our audience to follow Vlad on his socials because he usually, as he said, he's a public speaker, and he's usually giving talks and sessions around different events and conferences, talking specific about the Chinese market and how you can enter through.
I wouldn't call myself a public speaker, but yeah, when they ask me to talk about something, I usually say yes.
Well, yeah, and your talks are very entertaining as well. So yeah,
we don't call ourselves YouTubers either, but hey, here we are.
We're to be.
Yeah.
So since we're in the gaming industry, we would love to know what are your favorite games, and if there's anything that you're playing right now that you would like to recommend to us and to our audience.
Yeah, so that's a tricky one because I always get stuck with this question when I get asked. It's like, oh, what's your favorite game, or what's your most played game? Like, I mean, I don't know. I play so well. I used to play so many. Now when I started working in the industry, I don't get to play as many games as I thought I would.
That's a constant in all of our guests, in all of our teams. You play less.
All of my friends who are not in the gaming industry, they're like, oh man, you must be playing video games all the time. It's so awesome. I'm like, man, no. Or the games I get to play are like unfinished prototype or pitches from other developers that, it's not the full game. It's work. Yeah, it's work. But anyways, I was actually a huge fan of MMOs when I was a kid. So played a lot of World of Warcraft, played a lot of EverQuest, Guild Wars, the first one, and of course played the second one. Final Fantasy 11 and 14, Lineage. So pretty much a bunch of MMOs that came out. WildStar was one of my favorites, but that died. And yeah, a lot of Dragon Age, Mass Effect, like RPG type of ones, CRPG ones like Torment, Pillars of Eternity. What else? A bunch of side-scrolling games, action games. Counter-Strike a lot as a kid. We used to. When I grew up, I didn't have a PC when I was still a kid, so we had all those little internet cafes back in
LAN parties. LAN parties.
Yeah.
In Argentina, we had those too. By the way, I got caught up in World of Warcraft. What did you play? Horde? Alliance?
I kept swapping back and forth. I used to start with Horde, and then when I was in Spain, my buddy recruited me into Alliance because they had this massive European guild like Mana de Lobos, and so he was like, "Oh, you got to play with me." So I started playing with them again, and then before that, then I swapped back to Horde, and then. Because, for example, now in Taiwan, there's this loophole. You don't need to buy the game anymore. You just pay subscription. You get all the latest expansions and everything. There was just some mishap between the two companies before. But a lot of Counter-Strike as a kid. We used to rent out the internet cafe. So they would lock us up during the night in the internet cafe for those like 8 hours. And we could, this bunch of 11, 12-year-olds just sit there and like play Dusk or like mini militia maps if they want enough people. And
all knife, please, and someone would go.
All knife or pistol versus all of that. Or when they had like those like sniper maps and things like that. Yeah.
I mean, I remember doing the same with Doom and of course also with the Counter-Strike.
Doom, Quake, Hexen.
Vlad, how much these games, because we've been talking before to our audience about Vlad's favorite games and all, but I want to know how much all of these games that you played as a kid, right, inspire you nowadays in your line of work, right? To how, if they have inspired how you choose the games that you work with.
Funny thing, actually, because the games I used to play as a kid don't really align with the ones that I like now or the direction we're going with. Because right now we're really into, Metroidvania, horror, bloody, gory types of games. And as a kid, like I couldn't play those. Don't really had many of those available to us. Because we didn't have Nintendos because it was all banned. So we got Chinese bootlegs like Dandy, those like 1,001 cartridges.
Yeah, we had the same in Argentina, but it was called Family Games here in Argentina.
It's same stuff, yeah. But I guess I used to play a lot of Diablo, and like I said, like Doom, Hex, and these types of games. So I guess that did have some sort of effect on me. But because you were asking about right now, playing what the Ascent is pretty good. What Cyberpunk should have been. Our buddies at Akopara released Grime. So if you like, hardcore 2D action. Metroidvania type of games. That one's really good as well.
We're gonna leave the link somewhere over there.
Yeah, I downloaded the Ascent. I downloaded the Ascent on Game Pass.
Pretty good.
A few days ago, but I haven't got to it yet.
It's a bit more optimized on Steam than it is on Xbox.
Okay, good to know.
There's that. But it's still pretty good. Yeah, I had quite fun. What else? No, nothing else comes. The rest is just word games right now because we have so many games coming out and everybody's just busy.
How many games do you have coming out now?
Because the pandemic screwed everybody, so a bunch of games that were supposed to release last year got pushed back because some of our developers got sick with COVID, so everything got pushed back. They're better now. They're fine. Yeah, because everybody's kind of young and healthy, so still suck, but nothing dangerous. So yeah, we have Lamentum coming out like at the end of this month on the 31st of August, which is like a old school survivor horror game. Then we have Jack X coming out the month after, which is a super hard co-op platformer. Well, single or multiplayer. Always mess up the description. You can play it alone. You can play it with up to 4 of your friends. And then after that, we have Legend of Tianjin, which is the game developed by Taiwanese devs here, which is like a 2D kung fu action game based on the colonial Taiwan when it was occupied by the Japanese in the early 20th century. And then we have a bunch of games lined up like January, February, March as well. No fixed dates, but it's just like because then this Hazel Sky is coming out, which is actually a studio from Brazil. Then we have my brain is fried. Then we have My Lovely Wife, which is like a succubi visual novel horror adult story. Then we have Project Althea is coming out, which is can't really talk much about it because it's still
you left me hanging. Which was the conference that you were in showcasing all of these?
Guerrilla Collective.
I saw Project Althea. Looked great, and then you just
I can't
show you anything else.
It's so good though. It is so good. But we can't show anything yet. But next year we'll have some stuff.
Awesome.
And then we're gonna announce a new game during the Indie Houses event later this month.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be a whole another kind of big presentation with us and a bunch of other publishers. So yeah, busy.
Well, we'll make sure that we follow you on your socials to keep up with all the news. So from what you're saying, you're collaborating with studios from all over the world. I heard projects from Brazil, so also Latin America. That's very interesting.
I mean, the majority of our developers are still from Asia, Southeast Asia, China, mainly because there's not many publishers here. Well, very few. Like I can count them on one hand, the people who are decent. And there's a lot of talent here, but most of the Western publishers don't really look at Asia, so they all focus on Europe or North America, States or Canada. So there's a lot of missed opportunity. So actually, it's the same when it comes to like South America, Middle East, and Africa. Still not a lot of exposure. So yeah, most of our games are predominantly Southeast Asia, and I'd say maybe like 75%, and then the rest. Then we have some games from Europe and some from States, and some from South America.
Great. So, and I want to go back to your early stages managing QA teams, because I'm very curious here. Because you mentioned that you collaborated with big players such as EA Games and also Microsoft, right?
Oh, Microsoft had nothing to do with gaming. That was just, I was a part of the team who did like networking for Windows 8. So that there's no crossover with that. That was engineering, boring engineering.
But I bet you learned a lot about managing teams, right?
No, they weren't that good. That's why Windows 8 was so bad when it released. A bunch of people quit because they're like, "We're done with this." Well, including me. And you got a month, 2 months later, they released the 8.1 patch that fixed everything. So yeah, but yes,
okay,
QA at EA.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hear all about. About your experience at EA Games as a QA manager. And I wanted to know if there are any best practices or any lessons that you learned from those times, because there's not much information around QA specifically. So
not to go into like technical details about like, storing your builds and setting up all the depots so that our teams who help with the porting and QA and testing have access to those, and you have like all remote work set up so it's easy to store your code and make it secure. But basically, our flow is like the developer sends us a build, and depending on how busy we are at the moment, normally like 1-2 weeks, then we provide them feedback. So the build is sent and our QA team plays it, tests it, and then we pretty much set up a separate board for the developer that he can access, and all of our playthroughs are recorded. So we host it on our server. And then if we see like all the game breaking bugs, or like there's like some general suggestions or like game balancing issues, all of that the video gets cut, the clips gets uploaded, clips or screenshots to tell the developers like, okay, no, this is broken, this is not working, here's some bugs, this is what you need to fix, here's our general feedback. So, maybe this is better, maybe that is better, and then they decide if you want to do it or not. And then regional suggestions, when it comes to, Europe, America, China, for example, different controller inputs, with the keyboard and mouse and the controller, because, some of the stuff is not the same when it comes to Asia and the rest of the world. So some things needs to be changed. And then we have a whole separate board when it comes to LQA. So for the localization part, it's all separate. Because when we first get the build, before we start localizing it, we do a little test on different languages to make sure that the text boxes and everything fits, especially when it's like Russian or Chinese, that the fonts that are being used can be converted in all these different languages. Because sometimes, most of the time, it's just a bloody mess. So make sure that is all in place before we start, doing localization and implementing all the languages. Because if you do that, then it just like breaks the game and it's a headache. So make sure that stuff works, and the fonts are there, the Unity plugins or whatever you're using. It's all correct and proper. And then we start implementing the text. And once the text is implemented, we do a separate QA for localization. So then it's like kind of like branches out. Like one is for the gameplay, controller support, etc., etc. But when it comes to localization, it ends up being in a separate branch to see just for the text, that it doesn't break the text boxes. It's all there proper. You can read normally. The spaces are normal, because with Chinese sometimes characters break or you can't read them or the font doesn't support. And with Russian, it also can be a mess because of the spacing. So sometimes it's just 5-6 words, they just merged in together, or they break words apart. Yeah, so it just ends up being a nightmare. So we do little tests before, so make sure everything is fine and functioning, and then we dump the text and then start going through the game and checking out make sure that it all works. Another thing we do is we do a lot of open and closed betas, both on Steam and our Discord. So we we have our own kind of like forms for people to fill out for their bug submissions and general feedback, and then we get all of those together, compile the reports, and upload it to our, let's say, Trello board, and the developers can go through them, and our QA team can go through that and see, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, because not all feedback is good feedback. And another thing we have, well, this is not about kind of like QA, more of like bug fixing and stuff. We just have it set up in our Discord as well, so that when people play our games, if they encounter any bugs, we always suggest them to post it on Steam, but if they're too lazy, we have a special channel in the server that every time they can post their little clips or screenshots or description of the bug there, and that automatically gets re-uploaded to our QA board with all the images and videos that get posted. So then it pings up directly for our QA team and the developer, so they can check out right away. So we don't have to scroll through all the different feedbacks, because we have a lot of games. And it's just one channel, but it sorts by the game, so different developers don't have to scroll through other feedback games. It automatically gets reposted to their own specific board for their game, and then they can go from there.
I think that it's great that you involve the community and you listen to them and you apply.
It's been a massive help, and one thing we do is everybody who participates in our open and closed betas and who provide actually some tangible feedback, they always get added to the credits of the game as testers or support. So people are happy, they get free games, they get to help out, they get to feel involved and give us some ideas and suggestions, and keeps the community active and interesting as well.
Absolutely.
Well, you have over 10K members on your Discord server, Vlad, if I'm not mistaken.
There's a counter on top.
I know. That's why I'm. That's
close to 11.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, we're also going to leave the Discord link in the comment section as well.
GG/ND. It's very easy.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Yeah, everyone should join and check out all the games that Vlad has been mentioning, and also to check out the community, because it's amazing how you can interact with them and check their feedback, as you said. And these are the things that Vlad is mentioning are some of the benefits of working with a partner that knows what they're doing, because sometimes indie devs don't have the experience, the time, the money, the energy, or even the people to get solve all this stages that you mentioned through the localization process, including QA.
Yeah, because it's just so much work when it comes when it all comes down to releasing a game. It's not just making a game, but there's a lot of other stuff behind closed doors, like a lot of bureaucracy and paperwork, especially if you're dealing with the different platforms, and then you're dealing with tax, well, the payments, is your company properly, all of that stuff is a nightmare to deal with. And if you've never done this before and you're doing it for the first time, you're probably going to make mistakes and screw things up. So if you don't want to deal with it, normally a good publisher will handle all of that for you, so you can just focus on making your game and don't have to deal with anything else.
On that note, is there any specific strategy that you apply when choosing the languages that you localize the games into? And to follow that up, are the devs involved, or do you get on a video call and you decide where you're gonna target your game? How does that work?
So in our case, English and Chinese we always do in-house, so there's no question about it. And all the other languages, it really depends on what type of game it is and how many words there are and which state it's releasing. For example, if it's an early access title, we're not going to do a lot of languages, because with early access you want to be active, release of updates and all of that. And if you have 8-10 languages for an early access title, it becomes a nightmare to QA and localize every little update you do. So you just focus on a few major ones. Again, if the game has 250,000 words, then probably not going to localize in all the languages that we normally do. But a lot of it depends, like I said, the genre of your game, the type of the game. So we kind of do some market research to see which regions perform well for these types of games, and we look at our previous titles and see where it's sold, and then we compare the costs of the localization versus the actual revenue. And yeah, we sit down with the developers, and then we figure out which languages we want to do. Because a lot of the times we get requested Spanish, but guess who doesn't buy games? Spanish speakers. There's a lot of them, but they're very vocal, but just the revenue isn't there. You end up spending like $15,000-$20,000 on local. Okay, I'm exaggerating right now. No, it's like more like $4,000 or $5,000. So not a huge localization job. But then the revenue isn't just there because everybody pirates the game, nobody buys it. It's the same story with a few languages. So we just have to kind of figure out where it makes sense. Obviously, if the developers are like from South America or Spain, like Spanish is going to be there no matter what, or Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. But unless there's like a really good reason to localize in certain regions, then there's just no point in wasting money because budgets are limited. As much as we want to make it available to everybody, we also have to look at this through the marketing and business perspective. But normally we try to do Chinese, English, Japanese, Russian, German, Spanish, Brazilian Portuguese, more or less.
Yeah, you have your focus on the languages that you offer or that after the market research you recommend.
Yeah, where it makes sense, and if the developers really want to push a certain language, we're not going to say no, but yeah.
Yeah, and going back to what you mentioned about piracy here in Latin America and in so many regions around the world, I'm hopeful that this is changing. Especially since Steam localized their currency, at least in Argentina. Right now they did it.
The regional pricing,
yeah.
And I've seen a change in that as well. But yeah, it's slowly, but hopefully surely changing.
It was quite funny. They did the localization, and then everybody swapped to Argentina to buy cheaper games for cheaper.
Yeah, I know. Well, but I think you cannot do that anymore because it picks up, of course, where you are. And if you do like...
you can still do it with a VPN. You can still do it with a VPN. Yeah. And then there's still ways to get the local currency on your account, which I'm not going to talk about for obvious reasons.
We're not
we're not recommending this at all.
Yeah, please don't do that. But also what happened is the big publishers, for example, like Capcom and Bandai and Namco, all their games, they just remove regional pricing. So if you go, for example, you go to Argentina or Russia or China and you check the price is still, full $60 or $70 for that game, no matter which region you're in. So kind of screwed some people over with that because, people started abusing it. Yeah. When it comes to piracy, in our case, we don't really bother with it. I mean, if people were to buy the game, they would have bought the game. Like if they're pirates, they will pirate, and it doesn't matter. Like it's really hard to convert. Maybe they'll pirate it, they'll really like it, and they'll come and buy it. Great, but if not, it's fine. It's just the way of life. It is what it is, and some people just can't afford to pay full price for the games, and that's also fine. So, it's not like it's killing us or anything.
I remember.
Fine. Yeah.
It was way worse when we had the physical copies over here. I remember people gathering in parks and exchanging the piracy.
It was the underground metro station for me where they would sell all these bootleg CDs and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Pretty much.
Because like in Russia, they had like these official piracy publishers, so they had their brand. And they were like producing these pirated CDs and selling them in stores and everything. Since then, they've gone official. I'm not gonna say who it is, but since then, they're still a publisher. They're still active, but they don't do the piracy stuff anymore. They just publish games on Steam and things like that. But yeah,
everyone
when I was
has
a kid,
to start somewhere.
Yeah, when I was a kid, they were the ones who were doing all the piracy discs and just selling those. Yeah.
Well, people like us wouldn't have had the chance to play games back then. Otherwise, so thanks to those
absolutely.
folks good or bad, we got access to pretty good games back then. So yeah. So before going to the meme section, I want to ask you, young
Oh
Vlad.
God, what did I send you?
No. Would young Vlad play the games that you're actually publishing right now? What do you think?
Some of them for sure, like the bloody gory ones, so my parents wouldn't see. Yeah, and yeah. I kid me probably play the shit out of these games for sure.
Maybe your parents wouldn't approve, but at the same time,
Oh man, my parents still
It
don't
would make it
approve.
more fun, right?
Well,
Compared
that
to my
happens.
previous jobs, they're like, "Oh, what have you done with your life?"
But well, we talk about with Flor sometimes that in our line of work with video games and everything, right? When we get excited about things, right? And then we probably talk to our parents and they don't really comprehend the whole excitement behind it, right? So I think it's a generational thing.
Yeah, but
more
it's
or less.
Oh,
yes.
definitely.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I work in video games. I get paid to play video games. I make money out of it, and it's like,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
hey, I can't complain. So let's go to the meme section. So yeah, with the new Switch version, we made the screen bigger. We fixed the Joy-Con drift issue, right?
You fixed
did
the
not.
Joy-Con drift issue, right?
Well, I think
I love this meme.
actually, I don't think we're sure. They took it apart, and some people said that they added a little foam cushion. So I don't know if it fixed the issue or not, but like all of my left ones are wrecked.
They can always
What?
improve. Where is my hand?
I just finished binging Loki where you sent me that email, so I was like, I need to put the little alligator in.
But I think everyone loves Loki. I mean, in my case, I love
It's a
him
good
even
show,
more than
yeah.
I love Thor. Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
Tom, what are you doing here? You don't want to do that to family. Vin Diesel meme, family meme is everywhere right now.
Yeah, people hated it, but yeah, I was like, man, I found it quite funny. It was cringy, but I don't know. It's just something always tickles me for this one. And you definitely don't do that to family.
It works in so many levels. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Mm.
Sorry for bad English.
If I make a mistake in English, please don't correct me. I have no respect for this language. Oh, that's just mean.
Shots fired. Yeah, I know.
That's just me.
It's just yeah, no, it's me.
I mean, I always say like that if you make mistakes, it's because it's not the first language that you speak. It's your native language is something different, and it means that you speak more than one languages, and that.
Yeah, so I never got the idea of people getting pissed off. I'm like, if somebody starts talking like Estonian and Russian to me, like and if it's like a bit messy and fucky, like I don't care, man. Good for you for learning because it's a pain in the ass to learn these.
Exactly.
But we always get the native English speakers who are just being assholes. Oh man, especially here in Asia. Oh man, the English teachers like I've met in China and here in Taiwan. Sometimes it's just too pretentious. No, obviously not all of them, but like the ones that are just here for the party. Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
It happened to me with German actually. That I lived in Berlin for a couple of months and was learning German. And whenever they listen, I was destroying their language. They automatically changed to English.
Yeah. See, they don't do that in Spain or France. They just like, nope, you gotta speak French or Spanish and
do your best, and your best is going to be better than trying to speak in English in either Spain or French. We're friends.
Yeah, the Wolverine. This one because
Yeah.
only got one post that hit hot. It was a post about this promotion that China Mobile did like 6-7 years ago, where they made a big ass calculator that looks like an iPad. So we just took pictures and be like, I ordered an iPad and this is what I got. And then you turn it around and it's just like it looks like an iPad, it's just like a massive calculator. And yeah.
That's your post that reached hot.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Just one.
Well,
was this me? I don't think it was me.
No. We
No,
added a
this
couple.
Yeah,
we
you
added a
added
couple of ones. Yeah, no. We added a couple.
Yeah,
when the Queen wore that green thing, and then people started using it as a green screen and photoshopping all sorts of stuff on it.
Oh man, that was great.
I had to ask permission with one of our co-founders because he's from UK, and I was like, can I like mess with this and like put like our company logo as her dress and stuff like that? Like, is it offensive or not? He's like, nah, it's fine.
I thought you checked because you never know.
Yeah. I mean, he's from Scotland, so he doesn't like the Queen anyways.
Oh, I see. Oh, this is another one from Lara and our team.
We play on the gaming chair for PC gamers. Console gamers play on the couch. Mobile gamers play in the John. Well, that's pretty accurate.
The throne.
That's the throne.
Yep. Yeah, I can't even argue with this one.
The face of the mobile gamer, poor guy. It's like, why are you taking a picture of me right now?
Yeah, it's like, don't bother me. I'm playing.
Don't bother me. Yeah, this cracked me up even more than it should, I think. It just goes to show my sort of humor.
Our meme round. We had so
Those
much
were
fun.
Great. Thanks, Vlad, for sharing yours.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vlad, for joining us and for sharing a bit more about your journey within this industry and your experience behind a publishing company. It was very useful, I bet, for our audience. And thanks again for staying up this late. I mean, I know it's Friday night.
It's not super late. Yeah, I mean, we got lots of work to do, so it's not like I'm going out to bars and partying. Still kind of can't. Well, actually, we can now. Yeah, they lifted the whole thing. So yeah, could be outside drinking, but.
Well, I hope you get some rest, and we can wait to hear more about the new games that are you're going to be publishing in the next couple of months.
I'd say just mark your calendars for August 31st, because that's when we're gonna have the Indie Houses event with Neon Doctrine and then 6 other publishers. We got Akupara, Raw Fury, Whitethorn, Fellow Traveler, those awesome guys at Togue Productions. Because we're gonna have a massive 7 publishers.
Yeah, that's incredible.
There's going to be an hour-long segment, more or less, probably more, hour and a half. So each of the publishers is going to have their own 10-15 minute video roller presentation thing about what's upcoming. And then we're going to have a big event on Steam with a bunch of keynotes from the developers, free-to-play demos to play for everybody. Right. And then, new game announcements, games on sale, things like that. So if you want to know what's going to be next for us and our other friends, then just tune in for that, and you can see all the crazy stuff. And it's going to be me with the cat this time in the video. During the Collective, it was...
What's the name of your cat? I don't remember. I believe you showed it through...
RT.
He has 2 cats. And the other one?
Wait, let me see if I can get the fat one.
Yes! Mission accomplished. Cat cameo.
We made it.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
look at
that fluffy ball.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Almost
He's a lazy
7 kg.
one.
Yeah, almost
Wow.
7 kg. Okay, bye. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I have
camera
no
lost
idea. I have
all
no
the
idea how
camera.
much that is in pounds. Probably like
I
14 kilograms on.
7 kilogram. Yeah.
Oh, thanks for sharing RT with us too.
Thank you,
Everyone, tune in August 31st to hear more news about Neon Doctrine and all the amazing publishers that will be joining Vlad. And thanks again, Vlad, for joining Open World. Thanks everyone for tuning in. See you on
Thank
our
you,
next
everyone.
episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Vlad. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.